to you live from the house. This is Keith with another how-to video that you will not see on YouTube unless you've seen it done by me first. Today we're working on a Samsung 42-inch plasma television that has no picture at all. We've already made repairs to the buffer board itself, or not the buffer board, the substand board. We've replaced the capacitor and the blown transistor, and then we tested the rest of the components so that we're good. To figure out what's wrong with it, see my other video that goes through the substand board. Today I'm going to show you how to test a buffer board and how to identify which IC is blown out. The easiest way to test a buffer board would be to grab a voltmeter. I would recommend a good voltmeter like Fluke. Fluke's pretty good at what they do. Turn it to the diode mode, and what you're going to want to do is test the ground, or for short to ground from the short to the power. Easiest way to do that is the lower two pins on the buffer board. On the lower board is the power pins, and the remaining ones are the ground. As you can see here, the voltmeter shows a consistency beep, meaning that there's a short to ground on this particular buffer board. To identify which IC has which IC has a short to ground, what you want to do is simply probe one end to the ground on the power input of the buffer board, and then run the other probe of your voltmeter down each one of the sides till you get a consistent beep. And we have no short. Nothing yet. Once you find the short, you'll hear a consistent beep. And there you have it. And that tail right there has a short to ground on it. And what you're going to want to do is follow it to whichever IC it goes to, which in this case is this one here. To remove the heat sink off of it, what you want to do is just take a pair of pliers. I'm using needle nose because that's all I have, and just turn left to right until it pops off. Then you remove the heat sink. Then what you want to do with your nail is just work the hot glue or the glue off of the chip itself till you remove most of it. You're probably not going to be able to remove all of it real good, but you'll be able to remove most of it with your nail. Say what?
I don't think I recorded that part.
Which part?
I was too busy watching you.
Really? You're all into my movie too? This part here?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
But anyway, once you remove the glue, I'm going to use a hot air station. There's several different ways to remove these chips. You got to understand one thing, that they're also soldered on the back, and they're also soldered right here on the leads. The easiest way that I found to remove them is to use a hot air station. I have the Xtronic 4000 series with a relatively large nozzle on it. What I'm going to do is crank it up to about 4 to get some flowing of some hot air. And what I'm going to basically do is just heat the whole entire chip until basically the solder melts. Now I still have some hot glue on there, but I mean the hot air station is going to heat it enough where I can actually work with it. And you're just going to want to make circular motions all the way around the IC chip until basically it gets to the point where it's hot enough to melt the solder or make the solder pliable to where you can remove the IC. This process normally takes about 20 to 30 seconds. So while we're doing that, you guys want to hold on, or yeah, we'll let you hold on for a second so you can actually see it. And what I have is these little probey things that I got from my Radio Shack in a little kit. It's kind of hard to do these, but sometimes you get lucky. And as you can see, the chip's starting to come up. And what you want to do is you want to wait for the chip to rise on its own. You don't want to force it because you don't want the pads on the board to come up. Because if they come up, then the board basically becomes useless. And you won't be able to remount another IC chip on there. So you have to kind of take your time and work with it. As you can see, it's kind of a slow process, but it's gradually coming. And there you have it. The IC chip comes off. There it is. There's the IC chip. Turn our hot air station down. And to test to make sure that you don't have another short to ground IC, have your voltmeter again in diode mode, and again test the power to ground. As you notice, we don't have a consistent beep no more, so we found our bad IC. Now what you want to do is actually check the board itself to make sure the board itself is still good. You do that by putting it in ohms. And as long as it reads in something in mega ohms or kilo ohms and it doesn't read actual ohms itself, then the rest of the board should be good from my understanding. After you've done that, basically what you're going to want to do is clean up this whole area here. You want to remove all the excess of hot glue. Usually you could just use your nail to just scratch it all off. What I'm going to do though is I like to clean the board up real good, because I'm going to have to mount a brand new IC chip. And as you can see here, I have all new IC chips. I ordered these off eBay. I got 10 of them, I think, for like $58. They're not real bad. But the easiest way to clean up the board real good is to get a Q-tip, dab it in some flux, rub the flux basically all over the board, or all over the, not all over the board, but all over the solder connections here. Okay? Put your lid back on your flux. Get you some wick. I got some wick from Radio Shack. And a soldering iron. Make sure you have a relatively clean tip on there. And basically what you want to do is just set the wick on top of the solder, or the solder points, and rub them off. Give it a second to heat up though. Don't leave it on there too long. Just leave it on there for long enough where it could absorb the solder that's on the pads that are mounted on the board. So you can get it real nice and clean, so that new chip has a nice clean flat surface to mount to. And as you can see, that's pretty, the surface is pretty clean there where the IC chip's going to mount. As you can see, I still have some glue on the board itself, the hot glue, but I'm going to basically rub that off with my nail here. As you can see, it's a lot easier to clean up once you have everything clean. And I'll show you real quick. Now watch, the board's still going to be kind of hot. But you should work with it once it's cold, but the board's kind of cool, not as hot as it is now. But for video sakes, I'm just going to go ahead and try to rush it, get it real good and cleaned up. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is use a cotton ball and some rubbing alcohol. Not the alcohol you drink. Well, some people actually drink this stuff, but I don't recommend it. But a rubbing cotton ball and alcohol, and just rub it. Just clean it up real good, get all that flux up off there, and look at it, see if you need to make any more cleaning preparations. As you can see, I have a little bit more solder there and there. So what I'm going to do is use my wick and my soldering iron again to touch up those two places, because you want the area to be relatively flat and clean so the IC chip sits flat. And then right here where the IC chip grounds out on the back, you're going to want to get that up too, but I have a special method that I use for that. I got this cool little handy dandy little suction tool. And what I do with that is, can you hold the board, Mom? board up. What I do is I put it on the back tail right there where it heats up, and I heat up the front side or the back, however you want to do it, and I put it over top of it, then I press the button. Then I pull it out. And as you can see, it completely clears out. And we can see it, the hole full of solder. And if you can hold it again, Mom. We'll heat up this other one.
He gets his mom to help him.
She's not really my mom. This is my wife. I call her mom because she does everything for me. Washes my clothes, cooks, cleans, takes care of the kids, while I get to play and make cool videos like this. And she helps do this. See? Ultimate wife right there. Put it there. Whoops. I'm slipping. And as you can see, all 3 holes are relatively clean, and we have a flat surface now to mount the IC chip. I'm going to spend a little bit more time cleaning this up, and then I'll get back with you guys.